on a lot of these. Thank you. I appreciate everybody's patience. We have such an honored guest. So I think we all know why we're here today, but I just want to put it in context because I know we have some folks listening who are outside of North Carolina. So today, the House Committee on Redistricting is going to hear the most gerrymandered and least responsive district in our state's history. The process has been highly irregular. We've only had a couple of days for the public to put in comments, and 1 day of committee hearings yesterday. Already in that time, there have been 11,200 comments from the public, and they are angry. And to put this in context, we had about 1,000 in 2021, and we had 600 in 2023. So we have 11,200 over the past 5 days. And that really terrific. But, not a lot of public notice, not a lot of opportunity to get public input. Clearly, the Senate ignored the public input because they were told the kind of comments that we were hearing from our constituents, and they ignored it and went ahead and approved this gerrymandered map. Really inadequate time and I really appreciate being joined by all my colleagues here, that we have hardly had time to do the deep dive we need to do proper justice to the review of this. We know this map is also unconstitutional. It violates Article 1, Section 2, that our actions here are for the good of the whole. The power of the state is vested and derived from the people. We've had judicial intervention that has found partisan gerrymandering to be unconstitutional, but that decision was reversed when the Republicans took over the GOP, and the courts have sort of controlled this discussion. But we know this is wrong, and we deserve better. And I'm really excited to introduce one of my heroes, or my hero, former Congresswoman Eva Clayton. And just FYI, I'm sorry, G.K. Butterfield couldn't be here today. He got called to Washington. So it's really my honor to represent. She's been a trailblazer in North Carolina and national politics, particularly in the area of environmental justice. In 1992, she made history as the first African-American woman to be elected to the Congress from North Carolina. She's the first black member to represent North Carolina since 1898. 1901. I'm sorry, I had that wrong. I apologize. Okay. I wondered why I was, yeah. Okay. So, and she's been fighting for rural communities, family farmers, equal opportunity, and as I said, really started the environmental justice movement in our country. Today, as the legislature moves to dismantle the district that she once represented, Congresswoman Clayton joins us to remind North Carolinians what fair representation truly means and why she, as the voice of the first district, must not be silenced. Please join me in welcoming.
Thank you. Look at them trying to take us back to 1889. Don't feel bad about that. Well, thank you all for being here, and it is indeed worthy of, not to hear me, but it's worthy of your attention to this. We were afraid that you wouldn't be here, not in terms of they're trying to move it very fast so people would not know what they were doing. And what I want to tell you is what I'll tell them. Shame, shame on North Carolina General Assembly to take away the will of the people of the 1st Congressional District in northeastern Carolina, a district that is really a swing district. It was from 1901 until 1992, 91 years that a black citizen happened to be elected. It happened to be myself. And North Carolina General Assembly appeared ready now to make it almost impossible for a black citizen to be elected again from North Carolina northeastern area. What motivates the General Assembly to take away this district? I don't know. Our 1st Congressional District is a diverse district with a population that is roughly 48% white, 39% black, 8% Hispanic. It is consistent of small business persons, manufacturers, farmers, public servants, healthcare workers, teachers, firemen, working class people who are trying to keep their status as working class. Too many of our citizens are just trying to make ends meet. They need a representative who cares about their, regardless of their political status, their race. They need someone who understands that district. In 2024, the election, this diverse district voted for the Republican candidate for president, and it voted for the Democrat black candidate for Congress. That's democracy. Rather, I agree with it now. The people spoke, and we ought to keep democracy. And again, I ask the question, what motivates this quick redistricting exercise that should occur only when the census is taken, all at the order of the court? No court has ordered this. It's a power grab. 10 Republican districts out of 14 is not enough. They need now 11 out of 14. In the process, let's get rid of a black representative. Congressman Don Davis, a Democrat, is moved from the existing district to the 3rd district, where he is now competing with the existing Republican district. If you cannot understand that as being blatant discrimination, then you don't know what discrimination is. In the process, you have now, how generous of them to think that we don't understand that. The gerrymandering, I strongly reject. We are Republicans or even Democrats who do that, not allowing for a competitive area to win, but they're not just trying to have a competitive district. They want to lock in that no Democrat, and especially no black Democrat, will ever win again. The proposed map takes the majority black counties in the 1st congressional district and submerged it in the Republican area. And again, you know what that's all about. No longer will it be a swing district. No longer will it have the opportunity not only to elect a Democrat or to elect a black Democrat. Hopefully the courts will intercede. We are in a very troubling time in America where democracy is threatened, where the Constitution is being denied, ignored. Citizens who love this country must have the courage to speak up and to speak out. I'm reminded of a hymn that says, God loves, God of love and God of power. Thou hast called us for this hour. And hopefully we will have enough courage to be ready for this courage. Thank you.
Hard to follow that. I'm Bob Phillips, Common Cause North Carolina, and of course we're a nonpartisan statewide organization dedicated, among other things, to fight for fair maps. I've been at it so long, Pricey, that I can remember standing in this room with Republicans back when they were champions of redistricting reform. That was kind of a long time ago. But I do want to say what an honor it is for me to be surrounded by so many great public servants here across North Carolina. Representative Harrison, who is a particular, well, every one of you all are champions of fair maps, but of course, Representative Eva Clayton, again, it's an honor for me to be standing here with you, and I'm glad I remembered your folder here. I know I would have gotten in trouble had I forgotten all that. I want to just, we talk about history, I just want to remind you all of one thing, and I did kind of make a reference to it. We all know, and everyone in this building knows, that gerrymandering is wrong. Everybody does. Every single elected person in this entire building knows that this is wrong. And I will recall in February of 2009 when I was here and there was a bill, Senate Bill 25, which was introduced that called for an independent redistricting commission. And the sponsor of that bill, one of the sponsors, was someone who believed that gerrymandering was wrong, just like we all do right now. And that was a person who also called out those who were gerrymandering and really wanted another way to do redistricting. And as the bill indicated, it was for an independent redistricting commission. The sponsor I'm referring to was Senator Phil Berger, then Rockingham senator, not in power, but he was once a champion, as was his party. And I only regret that I am not able to convince he or his party to once again embrace what they should, and that is reform. But my point out of all that is, they know better. They know this is wrong. And to what Representative Harrison mentioned, we've never had a map more gerrymandered and least responsive to, again, the public will, the public mood, than this congressional map that we're seeing adopted, unfortunately, today. Last thing I'll say, and I got to remain an optimist, otherwise I would have jumped off the ledge years ago. What I will say is I believe that one day we'll get there. And what it's going to take, it's going to take the state to elect more people like you all who believe in fair maps. And we did a poll, and a Republican pollster did it, and an overwhelming majority of North Carolinians do not want gerrymandering. They do not like it. So we need that. We need to elect state Supreme Court justices who believe in fair maps and not gerrymandering. And finally, we need the people, all of us in North Carolina, to hold the folks that we elect accountable. It's our democracy, and it's time to take it back. Thank you very much. I'm going to call upon, well, anyone who can answer questions, but certainly questions that might come to you, and Representative Harrison, to you too.
Sure. Do y'all have any questions? Go ahead.
So yesterday and today, Senator Berger and Senator Heiss repeatedly said that they didn't use racial data to create the maps. Do you believe them? And if so, do you think that these maps needed to use racial data to create a majority-minority district under the Section 2 of the DRA?
I believe it's possible that they actually didn't use racial data because they could look at a map and know that they were carving up the black belt. And it actually is a violation of Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act because it does require us, in the Allen v. Milligan case in the Supreme Court, sort of confirmed that we needed to draw these districts to make sure that African Americans could elect a candidate of their choice. So I believe that they didn't officially, but they already knew it. He's been drawing maps for a decade or more. Do you want to add anything? Or?
You did well. Also, you know, they conflate the political piece with African Americans or conflate the political piece with the racial piece. Now, hopefully you are not deceived that that's the case, right? I happen to be black and I happen to be a Democrat, but also I remember when I ran, there were no black Democrats, and the Democrats were in control. Okay. I'm living long enough to know when Democrats weren't too good. None of y'all remember that, but yeah, I remember. I remember that.
Not that long ago.
Not your lifetime, but my lifetime. So I'm going to tell you that, hey, a blind old lady could find that when you move Don Davis into a Republican district, not only to a Republican district, but one that's represented by a current representative who's been there for several years, and you tell me that's supposed to be unbiased, non-racial? Well, I have a full moon to tell you too, you know, if you believe that. No. And I hope we can convince the courts too that they can see through that. That's a cover-up. That's a cover-up. If I'm willing to have challenged Democrats in my earlier, I'm willing to challenge them too.
I will add, it's also worth noting that we've spent $15 million in taxpayer money defending indefensible maps so far,
yes.
Since the Republicans took over.
Yes.
So it's, yeah.
Sure. We're not expecting a vote today, but have you heard from any members across the aisle that they would not vote for this? Anybody that is willing to not put their name to it?
I haven't. I don't know if any of my colleagues have heard. This is the kind of issue where they stick together, unfortunately, I think.
Did I understand you say there will not be a vote today?
Right, it's tomorrow.
Or tomorrow?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. The Senate voted
We have
yesterday.
session at 4, but we're not taking it up. We're redistricting committee at 2, but, yeah. Anybody else, or Adam?
Are y'all worried about the impact that decision in Louisiana versus Calais could have on a potential challenge?
Well, that is a very important consideration. Until they make a decision on that, Section 2 is very much alive, and I think we're going to continue to make the point that this proposed map is violative of Section 2, but there's a good chance, based on the questioning, that they may eliminate Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, sort of strip it of any of its meaning, which is a problem, and you've seen the analyses that might wipe out any black districts in the South, in the whole South. Well, sure, go ahead, Rodney. Rep. Pierce, I mean.
Good afternoon. My name is Rodney D. Pierce. I'm the state representative for House District 27. That's Halifax, Northampton, and Warren counties. And I'm very honored and pleased to be here beside my political grandmother, Mrs. Eva Clayton. But I just don't think it's a coincidence. I don't think it's a coincidence. I think it's intentional that you are redrawing congressional maps at a time when Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act is being heard by the United States Supreme Court. a Supreme Court that has shown us time and time again during this term that they are willing to rule in a way that is going to upend, democracy, if you want to put it that way. And I'll also say this, Congressman Davis, what does it say to us here in the General Assembly when you have a congressman who has shown time and time again that he is willing to work in the spirit of bipartisanship? I think Congressman Davis received an award 2 years in a row being the most bipartisan legislator in the House of Representatives in D.C., and they still don't want him there. So what does that say to us when our colleagues are willing to do that? When they draw the maps, and we're told we need to work in a spirit of bipartisanship as well. What does that say to us?
Quick follow-up there, Representative Pricey.
Yes, sir.
Are you worried that the findings in your lawsuit could impact a legal challenge to this map?
The findings in my lawsuit,
In the
Pierce versus North Carolina State, I leave that to the lawyers. I leave that to the Lord and the lawyers. My whole thing was, I know the history of this district. I'm a public school history teacher. I've done historical markers about court cases that are relevant to the voting rights history or the civil rights history of Northeast North Carolina. So I'm very, very aware of what's going on. That's why I joined the lawsuit, because I saw it for what it is, and for a couple of years later, to be going through this now at an even higher level, that's why I got involved. But I can't concern myself with that. My job is to be here and to represent the people of 27.
Let me respond to the other question. I think that puts the onus on North Carolina. Oh, excuse me. Okay. I think your question about the possibility of the Supreme Court, doing away with Section 2 with the case they considered from Louisiana, I think that puts the onus on all of us who believe that Section 2 should be maintained, not to give up in the light that may go against us, okay? I think it is with that understanding of the possibility that this General Assembly feels that what we ought to push, because guess what? We may not have any problem, when we take it. But I think that's more the reason why we ought to stand up, not less the reason. I know that was not your intent of the question, but I'm just saying that ought to fortify us that our cause is even greater, because they want us to succumb to what the possibility of a loss may be, okay? And so those of us who really, and by the way, you can go both the state and the federal government, right? And as Bob was saying, there may be more opportunity in the state as we look at it. So don't give up before you have to give up, right? Don't defeat yourselves. That's all I'm saying.
And I think it's worth noting that I believe it was Justice Roberts who said in Shelby, in eliminating Section 5, that there was always Section 2.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Crazy.
Yes.
So, okay.
I'm sorry, this
Yeah.
is for Congressman Clayton.
Yeah.
How, you kind of got to this in your remarks, but asked explicitly, how does this new map change kind of the character of the representation for the people who you used to represent?
I haven't looked at how I look more at the demographics in terms of a political. I think there's a possibility it may be becoming a little more urban. I know the demographics and know the geography and some of the needs in the first. I've kept up with it. I'm still engaged. It goes more in towards, help me out somebody, it goes more towards Wilmington, right? And it has Currituck and, help me.
Picks up all the coastal.
Most of the coastal.
All of Senator Hanning's counties.
I know it's a strongly Republican area. I don't know the economic area. I know demographically the black districts that were in the first now are in the third district, right? So I do know that. The characteristic in terms of the demographics change. Don't know the economic piece of it in that area. But there is a please understand, when you've worked with a district over the years, there is a commonality of that geography, that they understand and have those needs working together. Now that has to be reestablished, Pitt, Greene, Lenore, and Wilson, right?
Right.
Now goes in the third. That too has to be configured and settled in that district, right? In that area. So there is, anytime you mess with part of one, you mess with the other, irregardless of the racial implication, okay? So I guess it's going to be some adjustment in all of those areas, right around that area.
Okay, sure, yeah.
To the point you just made, if we were to fast forward to November 2026 or January 2027, and let's say that district goes to Republicans, what are some of the biggest issues that you believe will go unaddressed with, if, say, a Democrat is defeated?
Well, without saying that the Republican can't do this, I would think that you have a congressperson now who's sensitive to the needs, okay? And he is sensitive to the needs of small farmers, he's sensitive to the needs of people who need health care, he's sensitive to the needs who need food stamp, he's sensitive to the needs of economic and small business, right? So he has the experience. Am I saying that a Republican be sensitive to that? You know, I couldn't be the person I am with saying that. Do I have I experienced that they are? No, I haven't experienced that they are. But I do believe they deserve to have a congressperson who understands not only the demographics being their politics, but their needs. And part of my joy was that I served trying to meet people's needs, whether they were Republican or Democrat. The record would show Republicans came to my office like Democrats came to my office. White farmers came to my office like black farmers came to my office, okay? And that's how I got reelected, really. The first time I ran, I bet I didn't have 10% of the white farmers. But the second time I ran, I had more than double that amount, okay? Because I had been engaged. And can a Republican do that? Of course they can. Will they do that? I'm not willing to say that I know any new person coming into that district would do that. So what you have done, you have taken away an existing member of Congress who has found a way how to respond to those needs. And you've put him in another district where he doesn't know either. He's going to have to learn, right? So you have done a disservice socially to my old district, okay? As well as politically. You've taken away the political power of minorities and rural people. I just cited the data that you have 39% black, 8% Hispanic, and 48% white. A very diverse district. Very diverse. You know, it's almost reflecting of North Carolina. No, North Carolina is a very diverse area. What? Hey, he won. The president won. Now, I surely didn't vote for him, but he won. That's called democracy. So why are you trying to upset this? You're trying to upset this for one reason. It's a power grab. And you don't want to have that. You want to have that extra member in Congress so you can do what you want to do.
Anybody else? Good.
In terms of demographics as well, don't forget that you have a couple of state-recognized tribes that are in that area as well, the Halawasaponi and the Meharry. Just want to add that as well. Yes, ma'am.
Alrighty. Well, I appreciate y'all coming. Apologies for the delay. Thank you all. Onward to fight the fight. So.